Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. As for those who watched the pre-match, they knew I would be dressed in black, ready to go for the wedding right after. At the moment, it started off this match relatively flat. I think not a surprise in some respects that we know that there's going to be some respect given to the Fulham squad. They are quite effective going forward at times. We know that Raul Jimenez is in top form. He can sneak away from a striker, and you have to watch. From the centre halves, and you have to watch on your blind spot and this kind of thing. But at the same time, it took about the better part of 30 minutes for Everton to even really get into this match. I'm gonna also bring up. Gonna share my SofaScore screen. I know my internet isn't excellent here using hotel Wi-Fi, so apologies if I do cut out. So I'm going to try my best to go along here. If it seems to cut out, please let me know, and I will modify my screen accordingly. But what we are seeing is if we go, let me drop down a little bit. So directly below my camera here, you see the Everton versus Fulham sort of possession and dominance of the match. Now, in a way, this is a deceptive statistic because Fulham, for a lot of that early period, yes, they had a majority of the possession. I think it was 60% or 66 to 33. So that classic kind of 1/3 sweet spot that we like. But when they had the ball, they were quite often pressing high up. They were quite effective in the channels, but they were also not able to do too much with it. There was an early opportunity for Raul Jimenez, who got a strike away, but it was right at Pickford. DCL had an opportunity quite early on. I think he was up against I think it was against Calvin Bassey. And he basically was in on his on the left side. We've talked about it at length, at nauseum now, that he cannot score with his feet. He struggles with one-on-ones. He took a moment to kind of settle himself, and then immediately realized it was too late. Tried to cut in on his right, tuck in to his favored right foot, and then fell into Bassey. It was such a poor penalty shout that you didn't even hear the VAR kind of come into it. Because I wasn't on watch along, I could actually hear the commentary, and you could certainly hear the Goodison faithful getting quite restless. Let's just safely say, it was very tiresome for us to watch. I was chatting with Corey in our group chat, feeling that basically, okay, we defended pretty well. There was a couple chances late on that Vitaly Mikalenko side after a mistake with Traore kind of cut back, and let's be honest, Emil Smith-Rowe missed a chance that someone of his caliber has been scoring. We got lucky, but generally speaking, on our defensive side, that hasn't been our problem. It's been, okay, we win the ball back, we give it to the likes of Abdoulaye Doucouré or Idrissa Gueye, and then what do we do with it? How do we give it to Iliman Ndiaye? Can he take on two players? Does Dwight McNeil open up the pitch? Are we willing to bring the players forward to shake it up? And there was a play right around the 30-minute mark where Dwight McNeil receives the ball from deep. He goes out to Iliman Ndiaye, and Idrissa Gueye finally kind of gets more involved in a more advanced position. Had an excellent strike. If he played for Arsenal against Aston Villa a couple of years ago, that ball went in. If you watch that game, the one I'm referencing, there was a strike where it hit the crossbar, hit the back of the keeper's head and went in. This time it hit the back of Bernd Leno's head and kind of spilled out. And then DCL was there for the tap in, but let's be honest, no striker is expecting that. Oh, you could expect it, but the reality was DCL was coming back from an offside position, so he knocked the ball in, and it was a pretty clear offside. They did a VAR check, but you'd have to be a pretty biased Everton fan that only sees the color blue to think that was anything other than an offside. But at least that was really promising. And right after that period, we started to kind of press Fulham. We kind of boxed them in a little bit. We had a few more scoring chances, but again, nothing truly broke through. There was one cross though. I forgot who crossed it, but Dwight McNeil came in, and it was quite a good header. Kind of came in from again that position that we're seeing him have a lot of confidence in, sort of as if he's the right winger cutting in onto his favored left foot. He was in that sort of position right where Calvin Bassey is sitting. Has a header on goal. If it was maybe DCL, you'd expect him to score it, but in his scoring form, maybe not. But again, not terrible, but we know that Fulham's defensively aren't excellent. They're not really at their strength right now. Tete has been quite good going forward. Anderson's been a bit flat, and Diop and Bassey haven't had too much to do. And we need to change that in the second half. It seemed like we were just about doing that, and then we kind of foot off the boil again. So I think really what we're expecting is how do we, in this kind of, it became very back and forth, which was great to watch, but at the same time, we weren't for a lot of that half, we couldn't hold possession. Part of it being, are we just hoofing it long? I saw quite a few scenarios where we had possession with Doucouré and Gay. Then you give it to McNeil, and we're just completely outrun in the midfield. We're not giving each other enough passing options, and you kind of just give up and go, come on, we know we're better than this, but they're not. Our players aren't taking the risk going forward to be caught out of position for a counter attack, and that kind of thing is just really frustrating. And TJ Mid, that was the next thing I was going to go to. I do not think Taki has been playing that well. What's tricky here with SofaScore is how they tie up their metrics is, I guess, less subjective than the eye test. But what I think they have about 100 different metrics. So if it's things like clearances, winning headers, tackles, and if they come up with a metric of like an impact of how important a header was, they will give that additional weighting. But to me, Taki has been very poor. Michael Keane has actually been, honestly, almost no foot wrong. He hasn't really been impactful either. But from a defensive standpoint, and that's where Everton have been this half, he has not been the weak link. Taki, there was one, and you might have seen a different one that I'm recalling, TJ, but it's one of these halves where I'm starting to get ready. So had looked away a few times. There was one where him and Mikalenko, this is where they nearly scored. Okay, Mikalenko is coming in, trying to clear, and then runs directly into Taki. They don't talk to each other. Taki, instead of just tapping it past Mikalenko and then doing a clearance, overhits it with his toe and gives it right to Adama Traore. And we were lucky to not give away that. And to me, Taki's just, there's something about the composure in possession that he's just not having. Sometimes you've got all the time in the world and he's just hoofing it long. But it's one thing to hoof it long, and it's another thing to aim a diagonal or a long ball that's kind of not just a whole load of airtime, but something, let's say at the chin or the neck of DCL, for him to be able to jump up, kind of go towards the ball and not be kind of pushed off it and flat-footed, and then do something with it. We saw the exact opposite of what Taki's been doing from, I think it was either Diop or Bassey, where these really good direct passes to Raul Jimenez, who can then do a one-time touch to the likes of Alex Iwobi or Adama Traore, and then basically he becomes kind of the deep line player, and everyone overruns him. So all of a sudden, it's a difficult way to mark up. And yes, I think we did go into that match, and the last 15 minutes were a lot better. But it was just, I was saying it again on our group chat. Ryan hasn't been able to watch the match. He was asking what my thoughts were, or what the people's thoughts were. And my thought was, it's about as flat as drinking a car scale. Car scales can be great, but at home, that's not what you expect. We would, after seeing a few results come working in our favor recently, to see, as Duggan's saying here, a very passive first half. And if we continue like this, we are kind of baiting Fulham to beat us, and then us scoring counterattacks. We are not we are not looking impactful enough on counterattacks for Fulham to actually have men behind the ball, which I suppose is beneficial. But at the same time, like it's a matter of time for a ball to bounce the right way for Raul Jimenez, who you can definitely see is on form, or Emil Smith-Rowe to score. Iwobi had a strike near the end, and Andreas Pereira can certainly have shots from outside the box. Tete's looking quite effective on that side, and Mikalenko's just struggling with that 2-for-1 situation. Looks like SofaScore is resetting there, but so I'll have to reshift that screen. Well, why don't I quickly look through some of the statistics here. So ball possession, as I mentioned, so it's not exactly 2/3, but it's kind of close. So the statistics in green there are for Everton. So XG of 0.28, I think that's going to be Gana Gay's opportunity and McNeil's primarily, and then a few scoring opportunities for Fulham add up to about 1 XG, 2 big chances. So I think that has to be Emil Smith-Rowe and probably the chance that Raul Jimenez struck, but straight to the keeper. So keeper saves 2 each, total shots 8v4, but again, shots on target and dangerous for scoring. I think we've only really had 2, McNeil and Idrissa Gana Gaze. We've got a few corners, and I will say I kind of get frustrated with sometimes, like there was a scenario where Michael Keane was on the right side, which was a unique spot for him to pick up, where he could have crossed early. He kind of seemed indecisive and just decided, you know what, I'm going to knock it against the defender out for a corner. So there's nothing wrong with a corner, but if you have Everton, like with dynamic in play possession, maybe Fulham don't have time to set up. Just cross the ball early. Find that kind of position between the keeper and the centre halves. Have some back post runners. Do what Everton don't like defending and just strike the ball early. But we kind of have gotten used to celebrating that we're okay at corner kicks as a group, and we clap for corners. But we can do better than waiting last minute just to rise this corner, because we haven't been scoring off them enough to really be celebrating that. So some of the highlights or the shots that they're looking at here. So I'll see if I can zoom out quickly and see if I can show that. So we have on the left side here the scoring opportunities. So Dwight McNeil's header that was on target. We have DCL's strike on 35 minutes, which I think was offside. So I'm surprised. Oh, that they blocked that one. Sorry. We had a Idrissa Gay shot from way outside, from outside the box that hit the bar. We had Abdoulaye Doucouré strike on target, but not much power behind it. Another strike early on. Oh, sorry. So we had 3 strikes on target, basically, on the 25th minute, the 32nd, the 35th, and the 41st. And then if we look at Fulham, so Jimenez had a strike way early out that was blocked, but still counted. This was the one to me that was a symptom of we're getting too complacent. Raul Jimenez is smart, will back off, and Tarkovsky wasn't able to keep an eye on him for the entire match. Again, we're just flirting with danger right now, and that opportunity came in. We had Traore had a strike that was saved. Smith-Rowe missed a chance over the bar. Same for Tete. And then Raul had a block. Diop had a strike. Iwobi. And again, lucky for us. Now, the match is about to kick back off. And I think, should it be 3-0? No. But I think Fulham, we're lucky to not be behind. That's the answer. Second half coming back on for everyone, to Duggan's point. And you know what? Let's hope for some positive change. Hope isn't a plan, but right now I'm not making the plan. So let's just hope for better results in the second half. Up the Toffees.